The call Billy never wanted to get. Billy Gibbons was on the road, preparing for another night of guitar riffs and Texas blues, when his phone rang. He didn't answer it right away. But then it rang again. And again. He finally picked up, not knowing his world was about to change. "Dusty's gone," said the voice on the other end. Time froze. Billy sat in silence. The noise of the tour bus faded into the background. He couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Dusty Hill, his bandmate, his friend, his musical brother, had passed away in his sleep. For over 50 years, Billy and Dusty had stood side by side, their beards long and their bond even longer. ZZ Top wasn't just a rock band. It was a brotherhood. And now, one of the brothers was gone. Billy looked out the window, remembering the first time he met Dusty in the late 60s. They were young, full of energy, and hungry to make their mark. Together with Frank Beard, they formed a trio that would become one of the most recognizable bands in rock history. But fame never changed Dusty. He was quiet, humble, and loyal. While Billy was the flashy frontman, Dusty was the rock behind the scenes, always steady, always there. Billy wiped a tear from his eye. "I never thought this day would come," he whispered. But Dusty had left something behind, a final wish. Before he passed, Dusty told Billy, "The show must go on. Don't stop." Those words haunted Billy. How could they go on without him? Could ZZ Top even exist without that thumping bass and Dusty's raspy voice? As tributes poured in from around the world, Billy stayed silent. He didn't do interviews. He didn't post long messages online. He just played. Night after night, he played through the pain. But deep inside, something was building. Something he hadn't said out loud. A truth only he knew. And one night, weeks after Dusty's passing, Billy finally broke his silence. Billy's secret memory of Dusty. Billy Gibbons sat backstage, holding one of Dusty's old bass guitars. It was scratched, worn, and heavy with memories. He gently ran his fingers along the strings, as if trying to hear Dusty's voice through them. That night, Billy did something he hadn't done since Dusty passed. He spoke to the crowd, not as a rock star, but as a grieving friend. Dusty, he said into the mic, was more than a bandmate. He was family. The audience went silent. Billy took a deep breath and continued, "There's something I never told anyone, not even Frank." He paused, and the crowd leaned in. "Years ago, when we were thinking about calling it quits, Dusty came to me and said, 'Billy, even if we play to 10 people or 10,000, we keep going. This isn't just music. This is who we are.'" It was that moment that kept ZZ Top alive all those years. Through personal struggles, changing trends, and even health scares, Dusty was the reason they kept going. And now, even in death, Dusty was still guiding them. Billy smiled sadly. "We had our fights. We disagreed on songs, on shows, even on hats," he chuckled, "but we never stopped trusting each other." The crowd clapped, some fans wiping tears from their eyes. But what came next surprised even Billy himself. He announced that every show from now on would feature Dusty, not just in memory, but in music. Rare, unreleased recordings. Hidden backstage footage. Things no fan had ever seen or heard. "Dusty may be gone," Billy said, "but he's not done." What was this secret footage? And why had Billy kept it hidden all these years? The tapes Dusty didn't want anyone to hear. Years before his passing, Dusty had recorded a series of private jam sessions at his Texas home. They weren't polished. Some were just him humming ideas into a tape recorder, strumming a beat-up acoustic guitar. No producer. No stage lights. Just Dusty, raw, vulnerable, real. He never meant for anyone to hear them. Billy found the tapes while going through Dusty's personal things with his wife, Charlene. There were dozens of them, labeled in Dusty's scratchy handwriting with names like New Groove, Texas Heart, and one simply titled, Goodbye. Billy sat alone and listened to every single one. And when he heard, Goodbye, he broke down. It was Dusty's voice, raspy and low, singing lyrics that now felt like a farewell. "If I go before the show, don't let the lights go dim. Play it loud and let them know. This old soul still sings within." Billy knew then, the fans had to hear this. The world had to hear Dusty's true voice, one last time. But releasing those tapes wasn't an easy decision. Would Dusty have wanted that? Billy didn't know for sure. But in his heart, he believed Dusty was still speaking through the music. And maybe, just maybe, Goodbye wasn't a farewell, but a blessing. So, he made the call. The tapes would be released. And one track, Dusty's Goodbye, would close every ZZ Top show moving forward. The night the crowd heard Goodbye. It was a hot summer night in Austin, Texas. The amphitheater was packed. Fans from every generation had gathered, not just to see ZZ Top, but to feel Dusty Hill one more time. Billy Gibbons stood quietly backstage, holding a folded piece of paper in his hand. It was the original lyrics Dusty had scribbled for the song Goodbye. The ink was smudged in places, torn at the edges. But the words hit like thunder. Frank Beard walked up beside him and asked, "You ready?" Billy nodded. But he wasn't sure. This wasn't just another concert. This was a goodbye letter from beyond the grave. A moment fans would never forget, and one Billy might never recover from. As the lights dimmed, the crowd roared. The band took their places. And then Billy stepped forward. "Tonight," he said, "we're gonna play something you've never heard. A message from our brother Dusty, straight from his soul." He gave a signal, and the screen behind the stage lit up. It showed Dusty Hill sitting on a porch, a glass of whiskey in one hand, a guitar in the other. The camera was shaky. There were no fancy effects. Just Dusty, alone with his music. Then his voice filled the air. "If I go before the show, don't let the lights go dim." The crowd went silent. Some fans gasped. Others cried. People held up phones, trying to capture every second. But many just stood still, hands on their hearts, as Dusty sang his final words. The band didn't play over it. They let the recording stand on its own, pure, untouched, sacred. Billy kept his eyes closed the whole time. When the song ended, there was a moment of absolute silence. And then, the loudest applause Billy had heard in decades. Dusty's presence was in the room. You could feel it, like a warm breeze rolling through the crowd, like a whisper from the past. Billy stepped to the mic one last time. "He gave us that song," he said, "not to mourn him, but to carry him forward." And that night, for the first time, Billy didn't feel alone on stage. He felt Dusty beside him. Just like always. But there was one more thing Billy hadn't told the fans. Dusty had left behind a message, a private voice memo just for Billy. And what he said in that message would shake Billy's soul, and change ZZ Top's future forever. Dusty's final words to Billy. The voice memo was only 43 seconds long. Billy had listened to it more than 100 times. Dusty recorded it weeks before his death. In the memo, Dusty's voice was tired, but calm. "Hey man," it began, "if you're hearing this, I'm probably gone. And that's okay." Billy paused the recording the first time he heard that line. He wasn't ready. But he forced himself to keep going. "I ain't scared," Dusty continued. "We had one hell of a ride, huh? Beard, the beards, the blues, all of it. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat." Billy clenched his jaw as he listened. He could almost see Dusty smiling through the words. "But listen, brother, you gotta promise me one thing." Billy leaned in. This was the part he could never forget. "You gotta keep it real. Don't fake it. If the music stops being fun, if it stops feeling like us, walk away. Don't turn this band into a statue." Billy closed his eyes. That one line hit harder than any song they'd ever written. "Keep the soul alive," Dusty said. "Play loud, laugh louder, and don't forget to look out for Beard, he forgets where he parks the van." Billy laughed through tears. And then the final line. "I'll be listening from the front row. Don't screw up." Click. The message ended. Billy sat for a long time with that message. He didn't speak to anyone that day. He just thought about everything Dusty meant, not just to the band, but to the fans, to music, to him. And from that day forward, Billy made a choice. ZZ Top would continue. But it would never become a memory museum. It would stay loud, honest, wild, just like Dusty wanted. But little did Billy know, someone else had been keeping their own secret. A secret about Dusty that had never been revealed to the public. And when it came out, the fans would be stunned. Chapter 6, The Secret Dusty Kept from Everyone, Even Billy. It started with a letter. Months after Dusty Hill passed, Billy received a package from Dusty's wife, Charlene. It was small, wrapped in brown paper, and tied with a red string. Inside was a handwritten note in Dusty's familiar scrawl. "Billy, I never said this out loud, but you deserve to know. When the time is right, open the envelope inside." Billy felt a chill. He turned over the package and found a second envelope tucked beneath the note. It was sealed, marked only with 3 words. "Don't open yet." He respected Dusty too much to ignore the message. So, he placed the envelope in his guitar case, and carried it with him on every show of their tour. Weeks passed. Every night, Billy stared at that envelope, wondering what secret Dusty had taken with him. But he waited. Until one night in New Orleans, the city where ZZ Top played their first breakthrough gig, something happened. After the show, Billy sat alone in the green room. The crowd had been wild, and yet, he felt a strange stillness in his heart. He opened his guitar case. There it was, the envelope. He took a deep breath, and broke the seal. Inside, there was a letter, and a photograph. The photo was old, black and white, and fading. It showed a young Dusty Hill with a little boy on his shoulders. Billy stared at it, confused. On the back, Dusty had written just one word. "Son." Billy's hands shook as he opened the letter. I didn't want the world to know. I wasn't ready. Maybe I was scared. But I had a son. I kept him out of the spotlight. He didn't grow up in tour buses or sound checks. He had a normal life, and that's what I wanted for him. Billy's eyes widened. Dusty Hill, the bearded bassist of ZZ Top, had a secret child? Not even Billy knew. He plays music too, the letter went on. But I never pushed him to follow in my boots. Still, he's got the rhythm in his blood. Billy sat in stunned silence. Dusty had left behind more than music, he had left behind a legacy. A living piece of himself. At the bottom of the letter was a final line. If he ever wants to play, let him. But only if he's ready. You'll know when. Billy looked again at the boy in the photo, probably in his 20s now. Did he know who his father truly was? Did he even want to carry that name? And then Billy made a decision. He was going to find him. Because maybe, just maybe? ZZ Top wasn't finished yet. But when Billy finally did meet Dusty's son, what he found would shock him even more.